You go into the petrol station and discover the price has increased from what it was just last week. The cause might be several thousand miles away, in a channel barely 21 miles wide. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman, connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. Every day, about 15 to 20 supertankers pass through it, each carrying up to 2 million barrels of crude oil. That's roughly 21 million barrels a day, about a fifth of all the oil consumed globally. What happens in this strait affects your wallet, and right now it's the most volatile stretch of water on Earth. At its narrowest point, the strait is 21 nautical miles wide, and the actual shipping lanes are even narrower, just 2 miles wide in each direction. In shipping, a choke point is exactly what it sounds like. It's a narrow passage that large volumes of traffic must squeeze through. There are several major choke points around the world: the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, and the Strait of Malacca. But the Strait of Hormuz is most critical for oil, and here's why that matters. The Persian Gulf is home to some of the world's largest oil producers: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Iran. All of their oil exports by sea have to pass through this channel. The Strait of Hormuz uses a traffic separation scheme, which works like a highway system for ships. There's an inbound lane, which is 2 miles wide for ships entering the Persian Gulf, an outbound lane which is also 2 miles wide for the ships leaving, and in between there is a 2-mile wide separation zone. The scheme was established in 1979 and is monitored by Oman. Ships are required to stay in their designated lanes, and without this system, you'd have fully loaded tankers trying to pass each other in a narrow channel. The traffic separation scheme keeps them organized and reduces risk of collision. But it also creates predictability. Every ship using Hormuz follows the same route. While that makes navigation safer, it also makes the ships easier targets if someone wants to disrupt the flow. The tankers using Hormuz aren't ordinary ships. They're VLCCs, very large crude carriers. At over 300 meters long, fully loaded with 2 million barrels of crude, these are some of the largest vessels in commercial service. The depth of the shipping lanes through Hormuz is between 60 and 90 meters, which is deep enough for these ships. But VLCCs have limitations. They can't maneuver quickly, and they're unarmed. That makes them vulnerable. It has to follow the traffic separation scheme, and it can't outrun a small, fast boat. And if it's carrying 2 million barrels of crude oil, any damage to the hull creates an environmental and economic disaster. So why not just bypass the strait altogether? Why not use pipelines? There are pipelines. Saudi Arabia has the East-West pipeline, which can move about 5 million barrels per day from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea. The UAE has a pipeline that can handle about 1.5 million barrels per day. Combined, that's roughly 6 to 7 million barrels per day of alternative capacity. The Strait of Hormuz carries 21 million barrels per day. That leaves a gap of about 14 million barrels per day with no alternative routes. And some countries, Iran, Iraq, and Kuwait, have no pipeline alternatives at all. If Hormuz closes, their oil doesn't leave the Persian Gulf. You might ask, why don't they just build more pipelines? Pipelines cost billions of dollars to build. They take years to complete, and they have to cross multiple countries, which creates political complications. And once they're built, they're fixed. You can't reroute a pipeline the way you can reroute a ship. You can send a VLCC anywhere there's deep water and a port. That flexibility is why oil moves by sea, but that same flexibility creates dependency on choke points like Hormuz. If the choke point closes, the flexibility disappears. Territorial waters extend 12 nautical miles from a country's coastline. Within that zone, the country has sovereignty. Beyond 12 nautical miles, you're in international waters, where the principle of freedom of navigation applies. Any ship can pass through. Iran controls the northern side of the strait. Oman controls the southern side. The 2-mile-wide shipping lanes stay on the Omani side when possible, which keeps them in Omani territorial waters rather than Iranian. This matters because Iran can't legally stop or board ships in Omani waters, but that doesn't mean they can't harass them. Iran has military bases on islands inside the strait: Abu Musa, and the Tumb Islands. These positions give them visibility and control over the traffic lanes. Even though the ships stay in Omani waters, they pass within range of Iranian missiles, boats, and drones. Iran can't match the United States Navy ship for ship. They don't have aircraft carriers or destroyers that can go toe-to-toe with a modern fleet. So, they use asymmetric tactics, strategies designed to exploit the vulnerabilities of larger, more powerful forces. Iran has fast attack boats. These are small, agile vessels that can swarm a VLCC. A supertanker traveling at 12 knots can't outrun a boat doing 40 knots. Iran has anti-ship missiles. These are launched from shore or from mobile platforms. A VLCC is 300 meters long. It's not a difficult target. Iran has mines. The depth of the shipping lane in Hormuz, 60 to 90 meters, is shallow enough to deploy mines quickly. And Iran has drones. These can be used for surveillance or they can carry explosives. Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz multiple times over the years. Disputes over nuclear programs, economic sanctions, regional conflicts, or confrontations with the United States. The logic behind the threat is straightforward. If Iran's oil exports are blocked by sanctions or military action, they have the ability to block everyone else's oil exports too. For years, this remained a threat. Iran would make the warning, oil prices would spike on the news, the international community would respond, and the strait would stay open. Until February 28, 2026. On that day, the United States and Israel launched military strikes on Iran, including the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Iran's response was immediate. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps began broadcasting warnings over VHF radio. No ship is allowed to pass the Strait of Hormuz. Within days, traffic through the strait collapsed. Before the crisis, about 120 ships per day were transiting Hormuz. By early March, that number had dropped to around 5. Iran began attacking merchant ships, and as of late March, at least 21 vessels have been confirmed attacked. 7 seafarers and 1 port worker have been killed. More than 20,000 seafarers are stranded in the Persian Gulf. Iran hasn't closed the strait to everyone. Ships from countries not participating in the conflict. Some Chinese and Indian ships have been allowed through after requesting permission. The scenario that everyone feared is happening right now. Insurance companies are learning how fast risk calculations can change. Rates jumped 20 to 40 times overnight. The maritime industry talks about crew welfare in policy documents. Some ships have turned off their AIS transponders. Automatic identification system is how vessels track each other to avoid collisions. But in a war zone, broadcasting your position makes you a target. The economic impact happened faster than anyone expected. Iraq cut oil production by 70% within 2 weeks. Saudi Arabia shut down a refinery. Energy companies across the Gulf invoked force majeure. The Strait of Hormuz matters because geography created a choke point at the exit to the world's largest oil-producing region with no realistic alternative. Right now, as you watch this, the situation is still unfolding. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more, and until next time, thank you for watching.